You now know how to retrieve data from a page, access the properties of controls, and transfer between pages. But you'll often want the site to remember something that the user has entered on a previous page after they move to a new page. In this lesson, you'll learn a few of the ways to send data from one page to another. To begin this lesson, open the C# test sample file from your Sample Files folder. And open passdata1.aspx in Design View. You can see that there is a text box and a button on this page. You're going to write some code that will send the contents of the text box to another page which will display it. First, you're going to do this using the server.transfer method and the previous page property. If you use the server.transfer method to move between pages, you can actually access the page object of the previous page. Open the code behind file of passdata1.aspx and add the following code to the button send click event handler. page.server.transfer passdata2.aspx. As mentioned in lesson 3.10, server.transfer will keep a link open to the previous page. Now view passdata1.aspx in your web browser. Change the text in the text box if you wish, and click Send to Next Page. Passdata2.aspx picks up the data and displays it. But because you used server.transfer, you still appear to be on passdata1.aspx. Close your web browser now and open the code behind file of passdata2. You can now see the code that retrieves the data. This code retrieves the text box text control from the previous page and displays its text property in the label control on this page. It probably looks a little confusing at the moment. You won't be able to fully understand this code until you've completed lesson 5.9. Page.PreviousPage is a link to the page object of the page that you came from. Find control text box text looks for the text box text control on the previous page. The page.PreviousPage method isn't widely used for passing data between pages. Most developers prefer the query string method. The main disadvantage of the page.PreviousPage method is that it only works if you use server.transfer to move to the target page. Using the server.transfer method means that the person using your site won't be aware that they've moved between pages. Sometimes this is exactly what you want, but most of the time you will need to use another method of passing data. Next, you're going to pass some data between pages using the query string method. The query string method is the most widely used method of sending data between pages. While browsing the internet, you might have noticed that sometimes web addresses look something like www.site.com/page.aspx, page equals 10 and product equals 13. The values after the question mark are query string values, and you can use them to send data between your pages. Return to the code behind file of passdata1.aspx. Remove the code from the button send click event handler and add the following code: page.response.redirect, begin brackets, begin quotes, passdata3.aspx, question mark, text equals, end quotes, plus textbox text.text, end brackets, semicolon. Now view passdata1.aspx in your web browser. Once again, change the text in the text box if you wish, and click Send to Next Page. Passdata3.aspx retrieves the text that you entered and displays it. If you look in the address bar of your browser, you can see how the text was sent to passdata3.aspx. Now close your browser and open the code behind file of passdata3.aspx. Here you can see that the text was retrieved using page.request.queryString. You'll fully understand this code later in the course, after completing Lesson 7.1. Sending values with queryString is the best way to send values between pages when you don't mind exposing them to the user. The major disadvantage of queryString is that the values can be very easily tampered with by the user. If you have, for example, a document ID value in the query string, the user could very easily change it in order to bypass security and access any document in the system. You can create secure systems with query string, but you have to incorporate a way to check that the user has access to the resource that they have requested. There are other ways of moving data between pages besides the ones mentioned in this lesson. You could store values in cookies, or a database, or even use plain HTML forms as you did in Lesson 2.12. You can also store information between pages using Session, which you'll learn about in the next lesson. That's Lesson 3.12. Close Visual Studio now, and you've now completed Lesson 3.11, Send Data Between Pages.